The student agreed to leave his friends and follow Peter. It was all going well for Peter so far. The student was following and asking him what the general wanted to see him about. Whenever he asked, Peter would reply, saying the general would never tell a low-level like him information about why. However, the problem started to occur when the student realized that Peter wasn't leading them to an office, but instead toward the dorm rooms. "Where are you taking me?" he asked. "Oh, I just need to grab a few things from my room first that I forgot," Peter replied. "I thought you said it was urgent." The student was now starting to get annoyed at Peter. This was bad, as there were still several students around, returning to their dorm rooms after leaving the canteen. It wasn't like Peter could knock him out there and then. "Is there a problem here?" a voice said. As the student turned around, he could see a black-haired student he didn't recognize, and suddenly his eyes lit up red. "Head over to room 224 and wait there," Fex commanded, and the student did as asked. "Thank you, but why are you out here?" Peter asked. "I had a feeling one of you might mess up this plan of yours, and out of everyone, I picked you. I've been following you since the canteen." The two of them entered Fex's room and tied up the student. They then sat together in silence as they patiently waited for the others, until Fex broke the silence. "Don't worry too much. Once this is done, you will evolve and no longer be required to do this type of thing. I honestly don't know why your Turner didn't prepare this all beforehand." "Well, he didn't understand what was going on. None of us do," Peter replied. "What do you mean?" Fex asked. But before Peter was able to give further details, a knock was heard at the door. Quinn had arrived first, and then Varden only a few minutes after. They did the same procedure like last time and allowed Fex to tie the other two students up. Now laid on the floor were 3 students. "Well, are you ready to do this?" Fex asked. This time, when faced with the dilemma of choosing who should cut off the student's limbs, Quinn had volunteered. He was taking no chances while doing the work. It wasn't that he wanted to do it. It was because he felt like it was crueler to allow Peter's shaky hands to do the work. If the part wasn't cut clean, it would only cause more suffering. Rather than splitting it up into different days, they wanted to get rid of Peter's problem as soon as possible. If Peter was still hungry and they couldn't find a solution for the last one, then they could always rely on Varden. "Here I go!" This time, however, Varden immediately moved towards the amputated area and started to place his hands just above it. As he did, it began to heal far quicker than it normally would. "What's that?" Peter asked. "I decided to head to the nurse's office, faking that I had a temperature. The two of us touched, so I was able to copy her ability," Varden explained. "I didn't want these guys to go through the same pain as the others." The healing ability, along with the regeneration ability, seemed to speed up the process by a great amount, and there wasn't even a lot of mess to clean up this time. And finally, they were done with everything. Thanks to Varden's healing ability, the pain the students had suffered didn't weigh on their minds as much this time. Also, when in front of Peter, he too was starting to find it a bit easier. Varden thought he was finding it too easy. "Looks like you're enjoying it," Varden remarked before asking Peter, "Did mine taste any better?" A crude smile was shown on his face, and his eyebrow was slightly twitching. "Look, I'm not happy about this, but we have to make the best out of a bad situation," Peter said as he took another bite. It wasn't like he ever felt full. It was a strange feeling, but it was more like his hunger would disappear. And finally had finished the last one. "Remember to eat the bone too," Fex added. "Don't want to leave any evidence behind." Peter's jaw was now harder than most, and his whole digestive system had changed. So doing something like this was easy for him, although the bone didn't have much taste. Apart from the marrow inside, at least, he didn't churn it up like everything else he ate. 6 of 7 pieces of consumed by your ghoul. The message had appeared, and now there was only one person they had to find before Peter's evolved. Although the others weren't sure about the exact amount, they knew Peter must be close. Before Peter had eaten the pieces of leg, Quinn had also gotten a taste from each one of the students on the floor, adding to his overall stat points. Charm, 13. Strength, 20. Stamina, 18. With the 3 students' blood types, these were the stats that had been increased. "So, did you come up with any ideas for this last person?" Fex said as he sat down on his chair with his legs up on his desk. "I was thinking about this. What about Bones?" Peter suggested. "The person you met today? That's a bad idea," Varden replied. "Number 1, did you even see that guy? I think you would have to eat his whole body to be satisfied. Secondly, he happens to work for Duke. You're already on his radar. But I think you're along the right line. We should pick someone who deserves it." "And how do we decide that?" Quinn said. "If anyone deserves it, it would be Duke himself. Everyone is just doing what he says. Peter could have easily been doing the same thing to others once he went high enough up the ladder." Suddenly, while in the middle of their conversation, a beep sound was heard. They all recognized the sound well. It was when someone had access to the room and was returning to it. However, Fex had sent his 2 roommates away during this time, using his influence skill. He had tested it before and knew their minds were weak and would obey the command, so it shouldn't have worn off. So just who was able to break into the room so suddenly like that? As the door opened, a small student with bags under his eyes was seen. His head quickly moved around the room, trying to process what was going on. 3 students tied up on the floor, in certain areas, and the rest casually standing around, Logan mumbled to himself. Logan had arrived in front of the door earlier, but he had decided to continue to listen in on their conversation. Perhaps he had misheard something, or the words they were saying meant something else. But after listening and deluding himself to the truth, he could no longer take it when they started to talk about candidates. He had to see for himself what was going on. The biggest shock to him, though, was one of the students had torn off. The other 2 had already healed in time, but the same couldn't be said for the last student. They all had different levels of regenerative ability, and his leg would take longer to heal. Logan immediately brought out the black sphere-shaped ball and pressed it against his chest. The small little spider-like robots started to spread and appear around his body at a lightning speed until they formed a mechanical suit. It looked similar to a miniature mech, only less clunky. As he lifted his hand, it started to form an oval cannon-like shape. 2 more of them started to form on top of his shoulders, and then he had his other hand pointed out. Each of them was pointed at a person in the room. "Don't you guys move, or I swear I will blast you all," Logan said. His voice had a slight echo to it, as it was projected through a type of speaker through the suit. "Quinn, did they put you up to this? If they're blackmailing you, I can help you out. I have connections, you know." "Logan, please," Quinn pleaded. "Put the weapons down. It's not what you think." "I can't, Quinn. If I lower these weapons and I don't know the truth, there's a higher chance for you all attacking me. And although I would like to trust you, Quinn, I have factored that there is also a high probability that you were involved in this case as well, and 2 previous cases before." When did he do so much research? Quinn thought. "What the hell are you guys waiting for? Looks like we found your next meal ticket," Fex said as he took a step forward. A few seconds later, though, a beam of blue light had hit Fex and sent him flying up against the room wall. "I did say that nobody should move," Logan said.
Hi, Quinn here. Wondering what happens next? If you want to jump the queue and unleash all episodes, click on the link here and install the Pocket FM app.